in 1885, the building of the CPR, the Canadian Pacific Railway, was still underway in British Columbia. They imported Chinese laborers into Canada. After completion of the CPR, these Chinese migrants and workers kept coming because it was the land of opportunity. And in Chinese history, North America is referred to as Golden Mountain, Gamsan. So in 1885, after completion of the CPR, the government of Canada were finding that there was a lot of opposition from the various provinces because the Chinese workers were taking jobs away from the Canadians people at the time. So what happened was, in order to kind of curb this immigration, the government of Canada enforced a head tax at $50 per immigrant to come over. So that was in 1885, but you move fast forward to 1901, that still couldn't prevent them from coming. And in 1901, they raised that from $50 to $100. That just made it even more, less accessible, but more determined now to double the cost to raise that funds back in China, now to come to Canada. So when that didn't stop the migration, the government of Canada raised it subsequently to $500 per person. And that was in 1903.
That's a ton of money.
That's a ton of money. That's 10 times what it started at in 1885. They abolished it on July 1st, 1923, pretty well about a year ago, and brought in the 1923 Chinese Exclusion Act, which basically barred any Chinese immigration into Canada for a period of until 1947, 24 years. But in the same time, the United States had also an Exclusion Act. So at the time, the only place you could land in North America without, land as in being permitted to join family members or whoever was in Canada at the time, was Newfoundland. But it was only after the head tax was repealed in 1949 that many of the wives, moms, the families could come over. So my mom came over in 1955. My sister was born, say, a year and a half later, and I came a year after that. So I grew up in a period when really the Chinese community was growing up in terms of family.
All these family reunifications happening.
Exactly.
What a time.
Exactly. And for many, many years in Newfoundland, at least from the early period when 1895 was the first recorded history of 2 Chinese men landing in St. John's.
It was for the laundromat, wasn't it? Or?
Right. They started the first laundromat in downtown St. John's. And we have a monument that honors the early Chinese immigrants to Newfoundland that paid the head tax and the early immigrants right next, really at the site of the first Chinese hand laundry in St. John's, Newfoundland.